Embarking on a group home venture? Unleash success with these 5 transformative tips.
Looking back, would you have ever done that if you didn't establish those relationships first? Do you think you really would have ever had the confidence to actually pull the trigger?
Yeah, I like having everything set up first. I like knowing what I'm getting into. But the one good thing about this business is that there's so much demand for it. So you will have a lot of confidence. I mean, some people will, some people won't. But I had a lot of confidence with this business because I was reading articles in the Dallas Morning News and I was seeing people. I was seeing people out on the streets that obviously needed housing.
Yeah. Taharka, would you have like gone and leased a property or partnered with a landlord? Do you think you ever would have been able to do it if you didn't establish those relationships first?
Probably not, because it wouldn't have allowed me to see the potential, the possibility, right? The connections with the organizations, the tenant list that was that's getting developed, people contacting and everything, that allowed me to see what's possible. And then that's why I was like, yeah, I could get a property. I'm confident enough that what I'm hearing, the people I'm communicating with, the response that I'm receiving, I'll be able to fill this one house at least, right?
Once you establish these relationships, you're in New Jersey, it's 20% down payment. Like, that's a ton of money. How did you go purchase a property and get things lined up?
I didn't, because of that, right? That process. And so I listened again to you guys' recommendation, partner with landlords, how to acquire property. And I looked at that. I made my little scripts. I got on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Zillow, and I started sending my messages saying, hey, are you interested in leasing this property long term to a business entity?
Why would a landlord want to work with you instead of just like a qualified resident, like the typical leasee?
Well, what the course outlines, which most landlords, if they're listening to you, based on my experience, they are 100% agreeable with the terms that you laid out in the course. You're going to make sure they get their rent on time. That's what they really are concerned about, on-time rental payments. They're concerned about the maintenance of the property, how that's going to be handled, who's going to be responsible for this. And that's pretty much it. They just want to ensure that they're going to get paid and they're not going to have any problems on their hands.
How did you find the landlords? I'm just curious. What method were you using?
Yeah, what's recommended? Yeah, like I can't help it, man, because it's just really step by step, man. Like, is what's recommended. Craigslist. You may want to use, if you want to use Redfin, Facebook Marketplace, Zillow, Trulia, whichever one you decide to use, just do it and use it and start reaching out to the landlords.
And were you just using the script and like kind of mass cold emailing the properties?
No, I was doing it manually one by one. Like, I find a property, I send a message. I find a property, cut, paste, copy, send a message.
Did you purchase a property? Did you have a property like just sitting around? What was that like? Like the first steps, what were those like for you?
Man, oh man. Like, I want to say, truthfully, like out of everything that I've done, this has been the most simplest as far as steps and actions, because I followed it to the script. So you guys did an excellent job with laying out step by step processes, right? Like ingredients and right instructions. And I think that's how I looked at it. The ingredients, right? Like baking cakes and things like that. Like, if they tell you to put certain things in it, this amount, then just do it, right? You don't have to really understand it. It doesn't really have to make sense for you. You know, you sometimes be like, why would they do that? It don't even make sense, right? But just following the instructions, right? They put the recipe there for a reason. It's a blueprint. And I did just what it said do. Build a list and pick up the phone and make calls. And that was it. I did that. I looked through the rest of the course, how to build the list, I started building a list. I started doing research, looking at organizations. I started documenting them, getting their contact information, and I picked up the phone. I started making calls. I started having conversations. It wasn't that difficult. Again, it didn't make sense because I didn't have a house. And I'm like, what am I going to really tell the people? But again, the course helped with that because it informed you that you did not need to have a house. And this is what you need to say to the people when you're on the phone with them. And I did that.
Want to learn more about the future real estate? Sign up for your free training material at www.grouphomeriches.com.